Welcome to Lead Pods, the official leadership podcast from USMB for pastors and church leaders, where our goal is to increase our impact together.
Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 108 of USMB Lead Pods. My name is Matt Ersman, and so grateful to be with you today. Today, I have the honor of sharing a conversation with you with two USMB legends that probably most of you are at least somewhat familiar with. Today, we're talking to Donna Sullivan and Lori Taylor, who are both concluding their time as USMB staff members right now, actually. Donna has been on staff for 30-some years as the administrative secretary and bookkeeper. Her role has evolved and changed and grown quite a bit over the years. And Lori has been the webmaster since 2008, and again, her role has changed quite a bit over the years. Both of them are concluding their time with USMB, as I said, right now as we're getting ready for a convention, right now, actually. And we just thought as they're on their way out, it was just appropriate for us to spend some time talking to them, to honor them, first of all, but also to hear more about their experience as they kind of reflect on their careers and jobs really well done for our USMB family. Both of them are these kind of people who are just behind the scenes warriors. You may not recognize their faces, but they do so much for our church family. And as I think you'll hear in today's conversation, they have just such a big heart for ministry. And while they spent most of their careers behind computer screens, when you hear them talk today, you can just hear their heart for reaching people and supporting ministry and reaching new people with the gospel. Their heart and their passion for ministry is just so easy to feel and to hear when you talk to them. It's really hard not to like and support Donna and Lori. I think you'll really enjoy the conversation. So let's take a quick break to hear from today's sponsor, and then we'll get to my conversation with Donna Sullivan and Lori Taylor.
Today's podcast is sponsored by Mennonite Central Committee. Are you ready for a challenge? Let's pack 24,000 MCC school kits for 24,000 kids around the world. For the chance to win a pizza party, gather your supplies and drop off your school kits August 1st through the 31st to be counted. An activity resource packet is available for VBS and Sunday school. Learn more at mcc.org/challenge.
All right, my friends. Well, today I'm excited to be joined with two of my friends that many of you have probably emailed or gotten a phone call from or received a postcard in the mail or something from over the years. Today I'm excited to be joined by Donna Sullivan and Lori Taylor, two of the superheroes behind the scenes on the USMB team. And they've both been telling me they're very reluctant to be here today. So they're superheroes with a great deal of humility. So Donna and Lori, thanks for spending time with us today. Grateful to have both of you here.
Glad to be. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So you two, you definitely deserve your own podcast each, but you guys are both with us today because your time with USMB is wrapping up. You're both getting ready to retire. And so that's what we're going to spend some time on today, just getting to know both of you a little bit before you leave and just hear more about what you've experienced, what your positions have been over the years, and just kind of reflect on the great work that you both have done. So Donna, you're first on my screen. Let's start with you. Can you just remind people, what has your position been and how did you first get started working with USMB?
Well, started a long time ago, 1990. We were actually at seminary in Fresno, California, getting ready to move back to Hillsboro, Kansas, and I was looking for a job. And I worked with Valerie Rimple, and she encouraged me to contact Linford Becker, who worked in the conference office in Hillsboro, which I did. And there was a couple there that had worked for years with conference work, Marvin and Fern Reimer, and they were getting ready to retire. So Linford offered me position, a part-time administrative position there at the time. And I was so grateful that God provided that even before we moved back and started right away. I loved the job from day one. I get to do so many various things, be involved with a lot of different agencies and tasks. But primarily, I started as the assistant to the treasurer, and then some administrative work. But over the years, all of the bookkeeping came to my desk and a lot of administrative duties, answering inquiries and sending out resources, a lot of letters, HR stuff, insurance, fundraising letters, and taking minutes for various boards and committees and task forces. I also have helped with the Christian Leader. I'm the circulation secretary, which means I take care of the mailing list and all the address changes and those type of things. And then, of course, working with events, the National Pastors Orientation and the biennial national events, the National Pastors Conference and the National Convention, which is really fun. So, yeah, just a lot of different things, and it's been very enjoyable over the years.
Yeah, and a couple of times people listening probably know, but you kept on saying we. So your the other part of the we is your husband Tim Sullivan, who was the Southern District minister for many years, and he also retired recently. So you guys are kind of riding off in the sunset together. That's cool timing. And I guess just to clarify, your title's been administrative secretary and bookkeeper. Is that right?
And event planner for
And
the last, 12 or 14 years. Yeah.
Okay.
A varied title.
And you're the person, Donna, that I know everyone's very scared of you retiring because there's so much in your brain that no one else knows. So you're probably going to get a lot of phone calls even past July because you're just that person in our organization. So,
well, I've been around a long time. That's why I think. But one thing I have appreciated, though, is I've been able to work with all four of the national directors or executive directors, they were called, although Linford Becker was the first one, but his title was administrative secretary at the time. And then Chuck Buller was the first executive director. Then Ed Boschman was the third one. And then, of course, Don Morris is the national director now. And it's just been a joy to work for each of them. They're all just the best.
yeah, awesome. Very cool. Well, Lori, let's transition to you. Kind of same question. Remind people what your position is now, maybe how you started, because it's what you have now is not how you started. And how did you get roped into the USMB world?
Right. Before that, I'm just going to say Donna didn't even mention all that she's done with the Southern District Conference. So just going to shout out that too. She's been very involved and very much a gift. I started back in 2008 and my kids were in high school and my husband and I talked about it and said I should probably get a part-time job and help not only give some income, but boost some confidence. Because sometimes I used to be assistant to the executive pastor at a church long, long ago. But I had since lost a lot of confidence because when you aren't in the working field for a while. So I was very nervous about going back to work, but we went to church one day at Laurel Glen where we were attending. And at that time, Ed Boschman was the executive pastor there, but he was transitioning to his new role as executive director of the conference. So my husband noticed there was a small blurb in the church bulletin and said, hey, you should just apply for that. And I thought, oh man, okay, I don't know about this, but I applied and lo and behold, I got the job and I thought, well, here we go. I have no idea what I'm doing. So Ed hired me he was coming on and he was wanting to make some changes. And at that time, all the technology was just starting to take off. So he just immediately had me get to work on trying to find a better mass mailing system. So we ended up with Constant Contact, which we still use today. And they had a new website built. So one of the funny things is he asked me, do you have any website experience? And I said, nope. And he said, well, are you afraid to learn? And I said, nope. And he said, okay, here you go. So I started learning the website just by trial and error and watching a lot of YouTubes. And so that's kind of just grew from there. Just whatever Ed needed, we learned how to do. I helped him with his travel, etc. So when I was originally hired, he said, your job is probably only going to last as long as I'm the national director because the next person will probably be back from the Midwest. Mm-hmm. So I originally went in thinking I was only going to be here for 3 or 4 years. And then Ed stayed a little longer than he planned. And then when he transitioned out, I thought, here it comes. I'm going to have to find something else. But Don called me and said, hey, I'd love for you to stay on if you're willing. And I was thrilled to do that. So then I started working at that time and went from there.
Well, correct me if we talked beforehand and you talked about how you are a webmaster with no web experience. And you kind of breezed past that, like, oh yeah, I just figured it out. But it's hard. Like, I do a little bit of web design, and it's not something you can just slide into and figure out. So, was that intimidating to you? I think you've done some graphic design and stuff over the years, stuff that you previously didn't have a lot of experience. Is that just who you are, Lori, or was that kind of intimidating for you to jump into that kind of stuff, or has it been kind of fun for you to learn all these new things?
It was fun. I did take some graphic arts in college, and so I always have enjoyed doing stuff like that. And yeah, I would have to say when I started, I was very intimidated because the website at that time, the website we used needed some HTML, which I had no idea. And so I really just had to read so many other websites and resources to try to figure it out. But once I started figuring it out, it was super exciting because it was like, oh, I just figured this out. And then you go to the front end of the website and it looks good. And you're like, wow, I have no idea that I could do that, but I did it. So that was fun. And that started building confidence to tackle more projects and started helping me feel the excitement of learning something new, which was a big switch for me. So that was fun. And then when it went on and I was asked to start traveling and taking minutes for meetings, that was another big fear factor to, because now you're sitting in the room with the leaders of all the different organizations. And that was very intimidating, but that also was such a gift to be able to do that.
Well, I think you both are a good example. I think whenever someone's in an administrative role, it's just I think that's just how it works, that you end up just getting more and more and more responsibilities. The longer you're there, the more people trust you, the more people get to know you. Your job description gets longer and longer and longer. You are asked to do new things. And that's just something I think we often take for granted. And you both are just shining examples of that, as we've heard already. So both of you, since you have been on staff for a while, and a lot of people listening, again, they probably know who you are, but they might know, Don or the district ministers or whoever a little bit better just because they're more outward facing. Well, I'd love to hear from both of you. Like, what are some of the things as you've been on staff and as you've gotten to know people, what are some surprises that you've discovered along the way, or things you didn't expect to be doing in your position? Donna, we'll start with you.
Well, I didn't know that there would be a lot of travel. But I really enjoyed that. Of course, with our district job, there was travel in our district, but that's just been a joy to be able to see more of the MB family from coast to coast, to meet people from other countries, missionaries, other leaders, and, even establish relationships with some of those. We have dear friends all over. So that's been just a very big blessing.
Yeah, good. Lori, what about you?
Well, the thing I think that is surprising to me is like you said, you just keep getting asked to do more, which was great. I never minded doing that. But what I realized, what the gift was to me and the surprise is that everything that I was asked to do was building something in me.
Yeah, what do you mean? Tell me more.
Like working for Donna. Donna trained me and I learned so much about what she was doing. Even though I didn't do all of her job, I had a pretty good understanding of what she did. And sometimes I would fill in for little pieces. The big surprising fact was working with Connie at that time. Janae wasn't here yet, but Connie and Myra. And when I would write something to put on the website, I would send it to them. And Connie is just so gifted in grammar. And so she would send it back with just, a million changes. And at first I was taken aback by that. Like I thought I could write pretty well. But really, as I look back, my grammar has improved so much just from sitting under those really great. Janae is also so gifted with words. So everything that I was asked to do ended up being a gift to me and broadening my experience, broadening my knowledge, but also just sitting under these great men and women in leadership taught me so much about being a disciple of Jesus. Being in those rooms where the men and women are on their knees praying about important decisions, just the way they spoke about other people, it was such a great example. And I never knew that I would be walking into such a beautiful model for all these 15 years. Watching all the people I work with has just shaped who I am as a person, both professionally and spiritually, maturity, all of it. It's been a gift.
Yeah, that's awesome, Lori. That's a cool perspective to have. And I guess for both of you, since you have been around for a while, but maybe again, Don, I'll kind of toss back to you. Coming back to 1990 to today, obviously there's a lot of things that are the same. A lot of things have changed. One thing I know since you've been in the Southern District, I heard you say that even in our district and nationwide, there's maybe more variety, more ethnicity, more diversity than some people might realize. I heard you say something about that recently. Can you tell people about maybe specifically in the Southern District and nationwide, how that has evolved over your time?
Yes, I would say, yeah, of course, the conference has grown in number in churches over these years, but yeah, a lot of diversity. I don't think most people would know that on any given Sunday, there are at least 10 different languages spoken or sung in our MB churches here in the U.S. And one of the treasures that I think we have here in the Southern District, where we live, is our MB church in Indiahoma, Oklahoma. It's Post Oak MB Church. This church was started as a mission there in the Native American area there. And each Sunday morning, this congregation sings a cappella, at least one and sometimes two Native worship songs or hymns in the Comanche language. And it's just a treat to be there and experience. I mean, I would have never, of course, I didn't know about that before, but that there's a church, one of our churches in the U.S. that has that kind of a unique part of their service, and it was just a very unique thing. And they even have classes. They teach classes weekly so that their language can continue to their younger people, or anyone can attend those classes that would be interested in learning the Comanche language.
Yeah, that's so cool. I think, what did you say, 10 different languages? I think that's something that, again, I think most of us just forget how wide and far our reach goes. So that's really cool. I didn't know about the Native Americans too. That's super cool. So Lori, one thing that some people may or may not know is that you typically live in California. Right now you're in Colorado, but you live out on the coast. A lot of USMB stuff kind of happens in the Midwest. So a lot of your team meetings are held over Zoom. So I know that over the years that you guys on the USMB team have gotten to be extremely close. You know each other very well and you spend a lot of time together, but a lot of it's virtual. And you're often the one that's maybe farthest away, at least most of the time. So what has it been like for you, Lori, working pretty much totally remotely except for some special events and stuff?
Yeah, that's been very interesting, because it would seem that a team like we are 5 people plus Dawn, 5 staff members plus Dawn, seems like you would be very fragmented or disconnected, but we have managed to stay. I mean, we write, so many emails back and forth during the day, but we do have, regular Zoom meetings as a staff, and we have gotten very, very close. I mean, it's really like a family. And, we send back and forth prayer requests for one another. We share. And one of the really fun things that we started doing, I think it was Janae's idea, and I think it's been a couple of years ago now, but every Tuesday we have a thread called the water cooler email. Because if we were in an office and you can, you get back from the weekend and it's like, oh, what'd you do? Oh, my daughter got married. Let me see the wedding dress. Well, when you work all in your own office, you don't get that. So on Tuesdays, Janae usually starts us off. She shares kind of what the highlight of her week or weekend has been. She puts a couple pictures, and it's been really just a beautiful tool to keep us knitted on a more personal level, and it helps us pray for one another. Like Janae recently was married, and it was so fun to hear about all the planning she was doing and all, see the things that was going on. And we've shared some really hard things in those water coolers. We've shared some joys. We've shared, sickness and prayer requests. And it's really brought us very, very close, which I know we'll talk about later will be one of the really hard things to not be connected that way. But I think because of that, and because Don's been very intentional about making sure we have regular staff meetings, and he has even made sure we have a once a year in person. And that's been great. We do a lot of team building and also brainstorming for the upcoming year. So there's a way to do it. And I feel like we've done it really effectively.
Yeah, you guys, from the outside, it looks like you operate like a team that you seem like you would be together, because you guys operate really well together. So that's cool to hear. So you just mentioned, Lori, just kind of the highs and lows. And we've kind of talked about this a little bit already, but I want to give both of you some time just to kind of reflect. Looking back on your careers, what have been some of the kind of top of the mountain, just fun things you'll always remember that really have the kind of the highlights? And then what are some of the really hard things that people may not know that come along with jobs? What are some of the highs and lows, Donna? Again, we'll start with you.
Okay. Well, I would agree with what Lori just shared as well, working with our great staff. we're not just coworkers, but we're friends who truly care and support and pray for each other. And then working for the directors has just been a huge blessing, a great joy. One of my other greatest joys is, and I consider it a high privilege, has been the fact that my life's work, like what I did with my job, my work, what was actually ministry by serving the USMB family. I've been able to encourage people and help build the church, specifically the MB church. So I've just been really humbled and blessed to have been a part of keeping the U.S. conference, or USMB as we call it now, going and growing. As I said earlier, I've also really enjoyed working with people from the various other agencies like Multiply and Canadian Conference, that World Conference, MCC, MB Foundation, even Tabor and the seminary, which I also worked at and got to know people. And even ICOM, got to know the ICOM directors. And that's just huge blessings to be able to connect and work with those leaders.
You mentioned all the peachy stuff, all the good stuff. What about what's been hard for you, Donna? You mentioned that your job absolutely is a ministry. It's not just admin stuff. Like it is a ministry, and with ministry, it's hard. There's some days that are really hard. So what have been some of the things that have been difficult for you that you've kind of had to weather over the years?
As I thought of that, really just kind of one thing. It encompasses a few things, but I don't like conflict.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to deal with that, but seeing conflict has been hard. Conflict among leaders or among churches or among districts. That was hard. But then, kind of as Lori said, seeing how our leaders and pastors work through that, work at it so that it's not a hindrance, not something that breaks, that we strive to talk and pray and work together to make things work. So those probably were the hardest things. And then just as the job kept growing and growing and growing over the years. Like I've been around, I guess they couldn't get rid of me, but other people would leave, and so some of their stuff would come to my desk because I was the only one there. Mm-hmm. So just kept growing and growing, and at one point it was too much. So I had to kind of wave the white flag and say, "Hey, I should help here." But overall, it's just been so good, and I've enjoyed it so much, and very, very grateful to God for letting me be here this long.
Yeah, awesome. Beginning to sense a theme, which is true for all of us. I think that the best and the hardest part of any job is the people, right? It's the best part and it's the hardest part. People are great, and sometimes they're not so great, and that's part of being alive. That's probably most of our jobs. But Lloyd, looking back for you, what are some of some kind of memorable things that stick out to you?
Well, for sure, the God stories. I mean, just watching church planners launch churches and hear how God comes through for them, whether it's finances or a team or just the way it takes off, and which is just God who's behind what they're doing. I've just seen and heard stories after stories of God's faithfulness to church planners, to pastors, district ministers, national directors. I mean, when you're involved in a ministry agency like this, basically everything is a God story. It's God building his kingdom. And just watching that, getting to play a small part in that, encouraging people, being encouraged by people. I mean, that has by far been the best part of my job. The people I work with and the people that we help and try to encourage have just been so great. Yeah. And the flip side is, changing staff when you get really close to somebody on staff. Like our team is so close. When that changes, when leaders change, when people, church leaders change, or when there's any kind of a fall or something happening, those things are very hard because we do feel like a family as our staff and even as the conference at large. So you feel like these people are all connected, and you root for them and you pray for them. And so you soar high with their joys and you feel deeply the lows, but it's just a beautiful thing. I've
Yeah.
just kind of joked that I've just been a paid disciple.
Mhm.
I sit under these great men and women of faith and I get paid to do it. So it's just been a gift. And I would say by far the joys have well overweighed any lows that I've experienced.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad to hear that. That's good. I didn't warn you about this, but I'm curious about one more question. Well, we'll get to some more things, but what you just mentioned reminded me, Lori. We've talked on recent episodes about how it is kind of it's a big time of transition in USMB land. Both there's been several district ministers who have retired and taken over. Obviously, the transition with Don and Aaron that we're kind of in the midst of right now is a big deal, and there's a lot of change kind of happening all at once. So I don't. My understanding is you're not leaving because of those changes. It just kind of timed out that way that it was just time and you're ready to go. But I guess as you're stepping away, but I know you still plan to be around, how are you both feeling about just the amount of change happening in the denomination? Are you excited? Are you nervous? A little bit of both? I'd like to hear about your perspective on that since you are so on the inside.
I'm not concerned. I think, well, God knows what's happening, what's ahead, but we've had, I feel like, plenty of time to prepare for when these actually take place. And God's been putting just the right people in place to take over and bringing up younger leaders with more tech. And that's where our world is as well. So, I mean, I think it's time for change, but I think God has been preparing us for even the last year or two for this year, which seems like a lot of the transitions are taking place. But yeah, I think we're in good hands, and I'm excited about the new leaders that are in place, and yeah, totally trusting God's work there.
Yeah, I feel like, Donna, that God has really been the driving force for this change. It's felt peaceful. I remember back in 2020, my mom was sick and we had to make the decision to put her on hospice. And I called Don and said I was just going to fully resign. And he called me back and just said, what can I do to talk you out of that? So we came to a compromise that I would step down from the big role of his main assistant and just take on the website work. And I do some other graphic work and fill in just whatever needs to be filled in, but it's a much smaller role. And I remember how sad I was thinking that I was going to have to step down and how overjoyed I was that Don helped me find a compromise to stay in. So I know God can do that, and he brings the right people at the right time. And for me, I feel like the middle of an Oreo because Donna trained me and then I trained Janae. So I feel like it's going to be good. God's going to keep providing people. And like Donna, I'm very excited about Aaron coming in. I remember when he was on the leadership board and I really liked his leadership there. And so seems like a great fit. And JL is doing a great job. And Desiree that's going to come on is going to be great too. So I feel like although we're stepping down, it's just going to be handed off to the next people that are going to run this leg of the race so well. I'm just full of confidence for what's going to happen ahead.
Yeah, I agree. Well said. You're totally right. And I think both of you are going to get a lot of phone calls over the next few weeks and months. How did you do this? Or Lori, where's this button? You're both going to hear that, I think. But
Yep.
Well, looking ahead, I'm sure you both have kind of a mixture of joy, excitement, maybe a little bit of mourning and sadness, like you just mentioned, as you look ahead to what's next for both of you. So I'd like to give both of you some time. What's next? What are you hoping to do? What are you excited about? What do you want to do in retirement? What are you going to miss the most? Just looking ahead, what's kind of top of mind for both of you?
Well, I think what I'll miss the most is friendships, connections with people, obviously, and coworkers. But I'm looking forward to a slower pace. But I hear from a lot of people that really doesn't happen. But I'm hoping it will, at least for a season. And I'm really looking forward to becoming more involved in our local church with our district work. That just wasn't possible. So I'm really anxious to do more of that. And I'm already participating in our new mentoring program that just started this year, and I'm enjoying that. But yeah, I just want to have more time to read and even study the Word and enjoy God's creation. My husband's really good about doing that with our grandkids. So yeah, just enjoying life. And then, of course, we also hope to have more time to enjoy our kids and grandkids and all their activities. So yeah, looking forward to those things. And then we're open to whatever God might have for us as well, and serving the church or in various ways. So yeah, looking forward to what God has for us.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I feel excited to spend more time with our children, grandchildren. We've got 4 children, but they live in 3 different states and 4 cities. And we've got 6 grandchildren in 3 different states. So being able to spend time with them, and that's going to be a lot of fun. My husband retired 2 years ago, so he's been kind of antsy for me to have more time with him. And yeah, we're looking forward also to see what God has for us as a couple or as individual ministries. One of my passions is young women, young moms in particular. I love to come alongside and encourage them. So just looking forward to that, or pursuing a few hobbies that I have that I haven't really gotten into. So that's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that. But I know I'm going to miss the camaraderie, and I am a little worried about my brain because I use it a lot now and I'm afraid to stop. So I got to find ways to keep my brain sharp.
Yeah, good for you. I don't think you're going to have a problem doing that, Lori. I think you're going to find plenty of things to do to keep your mind occupied. One thing I think we haven't gotten to yet is actually timeline. So Donna, you're going to go through July into the convention, right? Is that your timeline?
That's correct.
Okay, Lori, are you on a similar time? I'm actually sure what your timeline looks like.
Yes, it's the same. I think we're all going to go through convention and wrap up the loose ends, and then we'll hand it off.
Okay, awesome. So one thing, I didn't prep you for this, but I'm curious if either of you have some insight you'd be willing to share. You both have had long careers in ministry, and it's been successful, and you've seen good things happen. And I think these days, especially, to have a longer tenure in ministry is maybe getting a little bit more rare than it used to be. So do either of you have any, some advice? What has gotten you through this? What are some things that you've learned that might be helpful to people listening, and whether their positions are similar to yours or maybe pastoral or whatever position that might be? What has kind of helped you get this far? Do you have any advice for people listening?
Just have to lean hard into God.
Yeah.
Trust Him and look to Him for direction and help each day.
I remember a few seasons when there was a lot of work because, when it is a small staff, there's no one else to do the work. So we're all very committed people to get the work done. We don't just say, well, I'm off. And that's just not the way this job has ever worked. And there would be times when I would start to feel that it was a job. And it seems like God always knew. And right about then, Don would either call or he would send the staff a really encouraging email reminding us that what we do is important. Don has been an excellent advocate for championing us, for setting us free to do our jobs. He's encouraged us. He's been kind of the wind under our wings. So I would say that if you start to feel that this is only a job and it doesn't matter, especially when you're kind of behind the scenes, it really does matter. And you just have to, like Donna said, press into God and remind yourself that what you're doing, even though I'm just working on a computer in a room, it is building the kingdom. It's helping encourage people. And I think you have to really be intentional to remind yourself why you're doing what you're doing. And so I'm very thankful for Don that he frequently gave us those reminders and encouraged us. And that really kept us going. So.
Absolutely. You both mentioned that you view this as a ministry because it is. It's not, you're not just a webmaster or admin. This is a ministry. And I think you're right, Lori, that for people who maybe spend most of their time in front of a computer in an office, we lose sight of that, right? We're just we got to finish all the check boxes and reply to emails and stuff. But you both have done a really good job at keeping the ministry aspect of this front and center. And I think that's really, really admirable. You've modeled that really well. Okay, well, I guess this is kind of your last chance. As we begin to wrap up here, what else? Do you have any other stories you want to share? Any kind of parting words that you want to share with our listeners listening today? Or what else, as we begin to wrap up, what else would you like to say? Again, Don, I'll start with you.
Well, Tim and I have been part of the USMB family for about 45 years. And I'm so grateful to God that He led Tim and I to this family. It's my spiritual family, and I love this family. These are my people. I love what we stand for, our values, and our stand on issues that follow God and His Word. And I believe in our mission and our core commitments. The USMB purpose and focus is to help each individual MB church reach its potential. And we as staff have worked very hard at providing resources and support that's needed by our member churches. We want to see every USMB church thrive and reach its community. So my parting word would just be, I would like to encourage my USMB family to stay true to God's Word and His values. I hope and pray that we never drift or compromise or turn from God's ways and standards of life and holiness.
Thanks, Donna. That's well said.
Yeah, that's well said, Donna. I like what you said. I was thinking about how when I first started working for Ed, one of the things he wanted to do was create a new logo. So Ed was kind of the driving force between moving us from US Conference to USMB. And the verses that he used were from Ephesians 4:3-6, which were the one body, one spirit, just as you were called to one hope. There's one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father over all, through all, and in all. And that was kind of the driving force of that one spirit of unity. And then when Don took over, the tagline became increasing impact together. And when I think of the word together and I think of the word unity, that's what we have to continue doing. We have to work in unity. We have to stay grounded in who God is. He's the one Lord. We have one faith. We have one baptism, one God, one Father. And I think together we can do mighty things, and we need to stay unified. And that's my prayer going forward, for the U.S. Conference, for USMB, for each church, and for the church at large, for the Church of Christ. So I think those are important. And if I could say anything to the leaders, whoever's listening, my teammates, I would just say thank you for your kindness, for the way you've been an example of living an authentic life with Jesus day in and day out. I would thank you for the many encouraging words and emails I've received over the past 15 years, because those words of encouragement, they go a long way. And they made a big difference in my life, and they made a big difference in my journey of faith. So I'm just grateful. It is hard to step away from that when you think of how influenced and how privileged I've been to be here. But I know it's time, and I feel a peace about that as well. So I just leave with a heart full of gratitude and thankfulness.
Well, as we close out, so Donna, you're going to be at convention in July. Lori, are you going to be there also?
Yes, I will.
Awesome. Good. Well, I hope you are just surrounded by hugs and applause as your last official duty to both of you. I just want to take a minute. You've served very well. So on behalf of anybody listening, just thank you. Again, a lot of other people maybe get the spotlight, but you guys do a lot of hard things, and you've served with excellence throughout your career. So thanks to both of you for all that you've done, and really good work. Really proud and grateful for both of you.
Oh, thank you, Matt. That's nice. Thanks for giving us a chance to be on. It was really fun. Not as easy as I thought.
You both did great. Well, thanks for your time today. We'll look forward to seeing you in July.
Thank you.
Once again, Lori and Donna, job well done. We are so grateful for you and the ministry that you've had with USMB for all these years. Thank you for serving so well, making such a big impact on all of our churches. We are so grateful for you and wish you nothing but the best as you transition into retirement. And as they kind of mentioned there, it's also good for us to know that they're passing the baton on to very capable people. We're excited for J.L. Martin for his role to expand a little bit, and also to welcome Desiree Rowland to the USMB staff. I'm sure you'll get to know her as she gets more and more established. So Desiree and J.L., we're so excited to have you on the team as you continue in your ministry, but you do have some big shoes to fill. So Lori and Donna, so grateful for you. Okay, and I hope for many of you listening, you might right now be at the USMB convention in Omaha. I'm there by the time you're listening to this. I'm really looking forward to our time together, so I hope I'll see a bunch of you around the halls here over the next few days. And if you weren't able to make it for whatever reason, I'm sure you'll hear about it in the days and weeks to come. So as we look ahead to August and start to wrap up the summer already, which I can't believe, I hope things continue to go well for you and your family, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time here on Lead Pods.
Thanks for listening to Lead Pods. Make sure you don't miss an episode by subscribing to our show wherever you're listening today. Learn more by visiting usmb.org. And be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We'll see you next time as we learn more practical tools to increase our impact together.